Alright, Shogun, the 2024 miniseries, is a remake of a 1980 miniseries that is based on the 1975 book by James Clavell. And I will now explain my history with the Shogun miniseries. It's going to be just as long and pretentious as the book itself. So, back in high school, I was kind of a jerk to my English teachers. As I've stated before, I've taken more English classes. I've failed more English classes than you've taken. So I know what the wrong answer is. This miniseries, the book, is pretty long. It's pretty pretentious. It stresses detail quite a bit because James Clavell wanted everybody to understand how important Japanese culture is, or how important things are in Japanese culture. They put 100% of themselves into everything they do. Tea serving ceremonies, archery, painting, calligraphy, sculpting, everything in nature, all the way your garden is laid out, every single pebble in the garden, how the rocks set in the garden. That's Japanese culture, and for all of us who are familiar with it, for us weebs, or you weebs, I'm not really as much. If I claim that, then everyone will call me out of how much of a weeb I'm not. I'm a pop culture weeb. So, the book is so ridiculously long and pretentious and silly that several pages, if not a chapter, if I remember right, is dedicated to the nature, color, and movement of sea foam. The book is like this thick. For reference, here's a CD. The book is like that thick. I think there are fewer pages in the Bible. Man. So, again, I was a jerk in high school, and the teacher's like, hey, personal choice essay, everybody pick a book. And I'm like, I want to do Shogun. And she's like, what? You're really going to do that? You're really going to read Shogun in 14 weeks? That's not going to happen. I'm like, sure, I'll read it in 14 weeks. I can do it. She's like, okay, go right ahead. And I'm like, why did she have that attitude? Wait, what did I do? The book is bad, and the 1980s miniseries is exactly as the book is written. It's it's drawn out. Everything is slowly stressed to build up some kind. I guess it's building something up, but it's not really building anything up. If that makes sense. They want to stress the tea serving ceremony. Okay, cool. Being descendants of English, they were like, yo, just have some tea and crumpets. Come on, I chop. I got to get back to work. I got things to do. We don't have time to enjoy the tea. We have to down the tea, get the caffeine in our blood, and get back to doing whatever stupid thing we had planned. Well, no, the Japanese don't do that. So that was the entire miniseries from the 80s. Is let's see who's in that one. Richard Chamberlain. I'm gonna ruin this. Toshiro Mifune and John Rhys Davies. I'm sure there are a bunch of people in there I can't really pronounce their names, and I'm not going to try. But for brevity's sake, the whole series is this English ship pilot is blown off course, and they end up in Japan. they didn't want that because Japan is kind of disputed territory. It's considered New World territory because the Portuguese are trying to get it. So the Portuguese want they want Japan because the church told them they could have it. So Japan is trying to be conquered by Portugal, but in the most subversive way possible, as to not upset the Japanese, because they're a contentious people, and every single infraction is met with death. There is no slap on the wrist, don't do that again, especially if you're an adult. Every infraction, every lack of discipline is met with death. Speaking out against injustices, or just out of turn, disrupting the harmony of one's home. You know, if you just angered one of the samurai, that's enough. And a lot of things happen when they're drunk. It's not being racist. That's just pointing out how cultural difference in 1600s Japan. By the way, this happens in 1600. So John Blackthorne, played by Richard Chamberlain, and let's see who plays him in the new one. Cosmo Jarvis. Yeah, that's John Blackthorne. So John Blackthorne crash lands in Japan. He sees all the cultural differences, and he's like, I got to get out of here. And he gets wrapped up in some political things, and he can't leave because Lord Toranaga decides that he's not leaving. You need to be here. So John Blackthorne. By the way, they can't pronounce Blackthorne. It comes out as Brakfoln. So they're like, oh, we can't pronounce that. You're Anjin from now on. You're Anjin. Whatever. So they call him Anjin. And there's this big, long political thing going on with Lord Toranaga. Lord Toranaga is the executor of the estate until the Emperor of Japan's son comes of age to rule Japan. Emperor is dead. Lord Toranaga is basically a guard. But there are certain political things in play that the council that he's on wants to take Japan for themselves. Lord Toranaga stresses it heavily. He wants nothing to do with the shogunate. I'm a guard. I don't want Japan, because if I want Japan, you guys are going to kill me for it. The council starts eating themselves, and they start killing themselves trying to take over Japan. And there's all this political back and forth with Lord Toranaga-sama, and the council. So that's the big game. Is John Blackthorne's trying to survive while dealing with this political upheaval that could change all of Japan forever. And he sees what's going on, how their culture is, the earthquakes and fires and floods and seafaring mishaps, and trying not to anger the wrong guy, just trying to survive so he can leave, because he's like, okay, I'm out of here. You people are crazy. And Toranaga-sama is like, no, you're not. You need to teach my army how to use these cannons that we pulled off of your ship, because your ship now belongs to me. You crash landed in my territory. I claim that. Dibs. So Blackthorne's just trying to get his ship, and what's left of his crew, they end up almost killing the whole crew. The crew was pretty much dead by the time they got to Japan in the first place. Blackthorne's like, hey, we can help each other. I can teach your army how to use these cannons. I need to get off this island. I need to get out of here. No, you're not going to do that. Okay. Well, there's more you need to know about the Portuguese. They're not your friends. So then Toranaga's like, oh, well, I just guess I need to kick everybody out of Japan then. So Toranaga-sama is against the Portuguese, the English, and his own Japanese people, or the people who are loyal to the council members. And again, Lord Toranaga is the something like the executor of the estate of the Emperor of Japan's son, so the shogunate. He's loyal to them only, but he doesn't want Japan. He doesn't want that power. He's just, I'm just the guardsman. I just want to make sure that kid gets to 18, and then I'm dipping out. I'm going to go retire. I want to see my family grow old. That's it. But the council thinks that he needs to go when he's trying to. So there's infighting there, and they assassinate each other or something, and they're back and forth between the council members, like you do. And let's see, what episode are we on right now? There's an earthquake. They're training to go fight the other council members. They're gonna get together and head to Edo and start the war. Before all that, Blackthorn doesn't speak Japanese, so Lord Toranaga appoints him an interpreter. The interpreter happens to be a woman, and what did they named her? Mariko. Mariko for short. There's a love triangle there, and Mariko's husband would end Blackthorn immediately if Lord Toranaga didn't say, you're not doing that. So there's that going on. In the 80s version, everything was so stressed and depressing and slow and quiet that there was no action really, and it got annoying. I remember just being angry, just being really pissed off that this is taking so long to explain this entire storyline. But like I said, that's how the book was written. When I was younger, I didn't care about this Young and the Restless politics back and forth. It didn't interest me. I'm like, where are the guns? I want to see some space ranging, blowing up stuff. I want to see some action. This political and romance movie is not interesting at all. So that could be my biased opinion on the movie or the miniseries, but the 1980s one was very, very boring. I skipped ahead to the part about the ninjas. So we haven't gotten to the ninjas yet in the new the 2024 miniseries. There's ninjas, this love triangle thing. If I remember correctly, well, I won't even go into detail of that because I'm not really going to spoilers or anything. It's the 80s miniseries. The book's been out since 1975. Miniseries since 1980. I'm not spoiling anything really for anyone who's seen either. The way they ended the 1980s miniseries was so annoying because they stressed all of these things. All of these things had to be just the minutia of everything. You had to just nitpick every single detail. Everything had to be stressed, and we need to know why it's so important that there's a certain color of ink or paint on this one teapot because it makes a lot of sense later on. This one detail has to be really stressed a lot. And it didn't matter. And then they narrated the ending. I'm going to lose it if they do the same thing to this miniseries. That they take so long, 10 hours, 9 hours and 50 minutes to tell this story, and then like at the last 30 seconds they ran out of money and they go, we'll narrate the end. Because that's what we do now. The book did the same thing. The book did the same thing. That's why this book remains in my memory. That's why the series, like, oh yeah, I remember that, as my eyes twitch. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that book. I wasted so much time watching it, or watching the miniseries and reading the book. So I get to the end of the miniseries from the 80s version, and I go, no. I can go back and read the last chapter of the book. Yeah, sure enough. They narrate the now my eyes twitching involuntarily. They narrate the end of the series from the 80s. I really hope they don't do that in this one. We haven't gotten to the ninjas. We haven't gotten to the war. We haven't gotten to who has to commit seppuku, who has to unalive themselves by how could I put this? The desausagification of their innards. That's gonna be pretty gruesome. there's a lot of death, destruction, a lot of gore, a lot of beheadings. It is Japan in 1600. I don't think there's any details I'm forgetting or want to add, so I'm going to end this here. Watch Shogun on FX. I believe you can watch the original miniseries if you really wanted to. There's this really cool thing that streamers offer these days. It's called the playback speed. Hit that as fast as possible while watching the original 80s miniseries if you want to. Lord Toranaga is played by, and I'm going to ruin this one, Hiroyuki Sanada, the guy that played, I believe it was Scorpion in the new Mortal Kombat. I should add, the Tom Cruise movie The Last Samurai is almost plagiarized from this miniseries, from this book. So if you've seen Last Samurai, you've seen Shogun, kind of. This version's done way better. It's not for children. I'm looking forward to the ninjas. Ninja, please.